In the beginning, the first Americans walked across the Bering Strait and down a continent into what is now called America. The significance is that since walking took a long time and was slow, it promoted isolation of Native American civilizations, and walking was their only means of transportation until watercrafts were designed for hunting and fishing. Indigenous Americans designed the first boats, and the most common were kayaks and canoes. This led to greater transportation and promoted trade and fishing between civilizations. In 1492, Christopher Columbus landed in the Americas. The Western Hemisphere was introduced to more advanced boats such as caravels. And with these boats came horses.
Horses were introduced by the Spanish and became an essential form of transportation for Native Americans. The significance of the introduction of horses is how it increased interaction throughout the continent. In the 1800s, horsepower assisted farmers and pulled carriages. Horses allowed for Western expansion and exploration.
By 1794, turnpikes were the first successful toll roads. In the early 1800s, turnpikes increased communication and commerce between settlements. These roads played a significant role in American transportation and allowed for dependable passage, such as the National Road through the Appalachians. In 1825, the Erie Canal was finished and marked the beginning of a new era of transportation. The Erie Canal was funded by the state of New York rather than the federal government. The canal was an immediate success and played a crucial part in the North's supply line during the Civil War. Canals ultimately led to a series of economic and social changes throughout the developing America.
Steamboats were developed between 1850 and 1820 and ushered in the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. John Fitch displayed one of the first steamboats on the Delaware River. Robert Fulton made steamboats more practical and commercial by creating faster boats that could travel upstream. Steamboats transported agricultural and industrial commodities that promoted the economy and expanded Western trade. Canals became replaced by railroads by the mid-1800s. Peter Cooper's railroad steam engine that ran 13 miles signified the beginning of the railroad era. By 1840, 3,000 miles of track had been constructed. John Stevens is considered to be the father of American railroads. George Pullman made sleeper cars for the railroad, which allowed passengers to stay overnight. Railroads promoted trusts, especially the steel monopoly, and was a key part of the Gilded Age. The first transcontinental railroad connected the west and east coasts in Utah. In the late 1800s, railroad cars were equipped with cooled mechanical refrigeration technology, which allowed for greater transportation of agricultural products. In the early 20th century, automobiles became a necessity in American life, due in part to Henry Ford's assembly lines. Automobiles were mass-produced beginning in 1913. Since cars became affordable, they became accessible to the middle class. The automobile industry created new demands for a variety of products such as oil. Automobiles allowed for easier transportation, which helped connect the nation. In the 1920s, during the Golden Age, cars were a key component to suburbanization due to easy commuting. People began to move out of the cities, leaving the poor people behind.
Throughout the century, cars have progressed into larger, faster, smoother, and more stylish luxuries. Cars nowadays can reach over 200 miles per hour, where earlier cars could only reach 40 miles per hour. In 1903, Wilbur and Orville Wright made the first successful flight in a self-propelled flyer. Although initially they only flew 37 meters, this signified a revolution in technology and transportation. In 1905, the first practical airplane was developed. Airplanes were adopted by the U.S. military during World War I and proved to have high potential. Airmail became a system of transporting mail and cargo on planes rather than on wagons, bikes, or cars. As time progressed, so did the advancement of airplanes. Today, the U.S. has a variety of commercial planes as well as military aircraft. Airplanes allow people to travel domestically as well as around the globe in a matter of hours as compared to weeks or months. The aircraft industry continues to advance along with technology and promotes exploration.
4, 3,
During the Cold War, transportation faced one of the most significant transformations yet. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched the first ever satellite, Sputnik, into orbit around the Earth. The space race was declared between the USSR and the United States. The space race sparked scientific research and technological advancement and ultimately led to the first voyage to the moon. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy launched a moon race, and in 1969, America had the first humans on the moon. Transportation by rockets and a spaceship seemed impossible less than a century ago. In 1947, supersonic jets were developed, followed by hovercraft in 1956. Although much of the modern methods of transportation are not widely used, the evolution of transportation in the future is unlimited.
that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.